First things first, we're going to have a discovery call. It's free. I use Google Hangouts, and it's about 40 to 50 minutes. It's a chance for both of us to see if we match. Because let's face it, talking about sex is very intimate. We'll be talking about intimate details about your body and things that are going on, and you need to be able to trust me. And also, I need to feel that you are able to open up to me. It's a two-way street. It's, this is your journey, and I'm just here to help you facilitate it. And so the discovery call is really important. And in addition, I only take on 8 to 10 new clients a month because depending on where my other clients are in their process, I don't want to take on too many people. And I want to be able to devote the time and the energy and the enthusiasm that you deserve to each and every session that you have. So if we decide we are a good match, then the next step will be for me to send you out some forms. Now, the forms are pretty generic. There's like a client agreement form and a contract showing the confidentiality, just also explaining that I'm not a therapist and that I'm a coach, and also a little bit about what is expected of you. We can also talk about that on the discovery call. So hopefully by then you'll have a good, solid understanding of what's expected of you. So basically it's just a reminder. And then on top of that, I have 2 other things that I send out. One is a questionnaire. It's pretty detailed, and we should both be on the same page. Rather than using a lot of the time during our sessions just getting through these questions, I send out the questionnaire ahead of time so that way I have a good understanding of where you are and where you're coming from. And depending on what your needs are, the questions may vary a little bit. If you don't really want to answer it and then send it back to me, we can use your first session to do that. But it is easier to get started if you do send it off ahead of time. And then if I have any follow-up questions, I can ask you about it during that first session. In addition to the questionnaire and the other standard forms, I actually have a couple activities. And they're just fun little activities, and they help kind of create a baseline of where you're at. And they're really fun actually to look at the end of your program to see how far along you've come. So now you're probably wondering what's a typical session like. Sessions are 50 minutes, and they begin with going over the activities and the homework that you had for the week. After that, we kind of go into the meat of what coaching is, which is basically Q&A session. I'll ask you a bunch of questions and you'll be answering. And then based on all of the question and answer depends on what the next steps are. Usually after the question and answer, or maybe sometimes mixed in the middle, there's like an education portion. So that way I can explain a little bit about the science or some tips and techniques to address some of the concerns that you brought up. At the end of the session, I usually have a outline of your next steps or your next homework already thought out ahead of time, but depending on how you answer your questions during the session, we'll fine tune that process so that way your homework for the next week matches what's going on with you and where you are in the program and where you are in life. After each session, I'll give you a follow-up email. It'll talk about what we discussed. You'll get your homework assignment and also maybe give you some tips and tricks or techniques to help you along for until the next session. So now let's get into what the program entails. It's a 3-part program. The first part, phase 1, is discovery. We want to discover and identify the things in your life that are holding you back from orgasming or enjoying your orgasms. And most of the time it's about identifying limiting beliefs. A lot of common limiting beliefs that women have or not even just women, people in general have is, not good enough, I feel broken, nothing ever changes, there's not enough time, I'm just overwhelmed and stressed in life, or, maybe sexual traumas that's happened to you in your past. Actually, not even just sexual, it could have been physical, mental, any kind of trauma might have been holding you back. And then also what I do during this discovery phase is try to find out what your love language is. Everyone has a different way of communicating how they express their love. And I'll also go through your preferred communication styles. Some people are very visual, some people like to listen, and some people like to touch and feel. During the discovery phase, the answers to the questions will basically provide an outline and a path through the next 2 parts of the program. So then the second part of the program is phase 2, and we call it transformation. And during this time, this is when a lot of work on your part happens, because it's really about getting into, what is truly holding you back. We've identified it. Now we're going to work on changing that. Most of the time, it's just about learning how to replace those limiting beliefs with other beliefs that benefit you. And there's all kinds of methods that work for different kinds of people. Things like mantras, daily routines, yogas, meditations. We'll go through a bunch of things to figure out what is the right solution for you. And then into phase 3, we go actually in what's called the action plan. And normally in a typical coaching program, an action plan is talking about the next steps so that way you can achieve your goal. Usually though, during the orgasm program, you've actually already started achieving orgasm. So the part 3 is usually dealing with, well, now that I know how to orgasm, I have all these other things that are coming up. And so it's about how to incorporate things, and I'll basically ask you a bunch of questions, and based on your answers, we're going to come up with a program to help you handle the new emotions and the new experiences that you're having, and be able to navigate that with yourself and or with a partner. And so that's basically the meat of the program. I have 3 additional modules that I add on to the program. The first one is masturbation. If you haven't ever masturbated before, or you're not sure if you're doing it right, we can actually go over some real specific details and instructions on how to do it so that way you have pleasure. Also, a lot of times there's women who have been masturbating but maybe haven't experienced a certain kind of orgasm, and they want to learn how to do that. So that's what this module does. It helps tie in some of those other fun aspects of masturbation. The second module that I offer is a couples module. If you're in a relationship, sometimes you might want to bring in your partner to be able to discuss certain things with me. We'll have 2 additional sessions with your partner. They don't count towards your 12 sessions. Those sessions will be specifically to things that your partner has questions or concerns about. Sometimes people want it at the beginning, sometimes they want it at the end, sometimes they want to do the sessions in the middle when they're in the middle of the transformation process and actually applying a lot of the tips and techniques. Then the third module is a relationship or dating module. Whether you're in a committed relationship, you're dating, or you're single and want to be dating, we can add on an additional 10 minutes to each session, so that way we make sure that we cover all of the topics that are relevant to you and how to incorporate what you've been learning into your relationship.